The market today has picked up some good momentum and a nice bounce off the bottoms that we saw this weekend. The market was not looking great, but in this video, I'm going to go over why I think this could be the beginning of a bounce leading into October. As we all know, October is traditionally the best month whenever it comes to the 4-year cycle. 8 out of the last 10 Octobers have been a profitable month, and coming off of a negative September, I think there's tons of opportunities across altcoins. So I'm going to go over the niches and the sectors that I am most focused on, because right now is not the time to just go buy a million altcoins. You need to focus those bets, and then you can move and rotate those funds as narratives play out. So I'm going to go over my game plan, where I'm looking to allocate my capital, and then where I think capital will continue to move throughout the month of October. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Before we get started, be sure to drop down below, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel for more. Every single week here on In the Game, we have you covered top to bottom. As you guys know, every bit of information that you need to decipher and win throughout this bull market. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors here on In the Game. We have some amazing sponsors from Nexus Labs, as well as 𝗔𝗪𝗁, Blowfin, and Aikido. And I want to give a big shout out today to Blowfin. They are giving away some of the best deposit bonuses in the entire industry, the premier centralized exchange, especially when it comes to a centralized exchange that will cater to you no matter where you are in the world. A lot of jurisdictions like the USA, I live here in the US, and I can't trade on other platforms like a Bybit or other competitors because they don't allow US traders due to KYC restrictions. So Blowfin will cater to you no matter where you are. This is definitely my go-to centralized exchange platform for trades, and they give away tons of different bonuses. And right now they're giving out competitions with new iPhones, so make sure you check out Blowfin down below in the description. Our link will give you some of the best sign up bonuses in the entire industry. So without further ado, let's jump into the markets. And coming off a little bit of a red weekend, a weekend that kind of had people spooked, and at the end of last week, the sentiment wasn't great. Like the last show we had, I think the fear and greed index was like 26 or something. It is pretty crazy to see these swings. I don't want to call them mood swings, but they're kind of like that whenever it comes to crypto investors. Like one day you see green, oh, we're so back, bull runs back on. And then some people see red and they're like, well, I think the cycle's over, but their mentality switches back and forth so frequently. I've really not changed my thesis. If we just look across the space, Solana's over 200, BNB is at all-time highs at $1,000. We still haven't had Ethereum cross all-time highs. I think Bitcoin has a surge in the coming weeks, and I'll explain why. We see Hyperliquid bouncing back, and we'll talk about a lot of these different altcoins here in just a moment. But I want to go to the daily charts. We see Superverse up 30%, a very nice bounce. They got a Korean exchange listing today with Upbit, so that really pumped the price. We see up 30% on the daily. Stuff like, Node AI, Moontropica, some of the coins that we've talked about on the show in the past. 𝗂𝗄 up 11%, 𝗣𝗺𝗁 up 10%. So we're seeing a little bit of a rebound in the market, but this is really just the rumblings. And I tweeted this morning, do you smell that? That is the beginning of October beginning to brew. And I don't know if I need to pull this up. I think it's very valuable if I do so. We pull up this monthly chart, and obviously, September is actually historically one of the most bearish months in history. And we're actually right now on Bitcoin monthly returns on a green month, which is pretty surprising. But regardless, we see October, which is the #1 most bullish month in the crypto markets, bar none. Okay, 8 out of the last 10 years have been green. We see here the only red years were in 2014. Crypto was so new at that time, like, really, you couldn't even hardly judge these types of 4-year cycles the same way that we do now. And then in 2018, it was down 3%. But on the 4th year of the 4-year cycle, in 2013, we see up 60% here on Bitcoin. In 2017, we see up 47% on Bitcoin in the month of October. In 2013, 2017, and then 2021 was 39% to the green on Bitcoin monthly returns. And all that being said, the biggest storm is brewing right now. We obviously got the rate cuts, and they're going to continue. Analysts say more rate cuts are coming. But on top of that, look at this gold chart. Gold all-time highs are being put in day after day, and this is a perfect storm for people to rotate back into the digital gold, which is Bitcoin. So I think that this thesis is going to play out once again. We're seeing shorts begin to get liquidated. This could be the beginning of a rotation back into crypto, but on top of that, the beginning of an Uptober. And like Becker says here, and I agree tenfold, there are so many altcoins out there killing it with revenue, customer, and tech growth, and they're being valued at basically nothing at this point in time. It's hilarious. And as soon as the market shifts, these will run to billions. People are asleep and jaded to alts right now. And right now, this is the time to go look at those platforms that are doing revenue, that are crushing it on all the metrics. And there's plenty of them. And what I'm going to do for this, I'm going to go to my smaller watch list, my more refined, focused watch list, because right now I think is the time to have focused, narrow bets, and then you can use some of those profits and go into other coins throughout this next month or two as the market begins to run. But right now is the time for more calculated bets, okay? And I love this diagram. For the past 2 months, a majority of all DeFi revenue accruing to token holders has been from Hyperliquid and Pump, and there is a new competitor in that market. But I want to go through. So Hyperliquid, I think, was a great DCA. We talked about this last week. I would be buying this current price, to be honest with you. They just did probably one of the biggest NFT airdrops that we've ever seen. You had to mint this, but at the same time, for Genesis, airdrop receivers that were top of the leaderboard, they got a $60,000 NFT last night. Absolutely, just for being a part of early Hyperliquid. Like, it was basically an airdrop. And I think that this is going to be part of a resurgence, okay? This right here, the 17th, this marked when Aster came into the market, okay? And we see $59 on Hyperliquid. So it's a 25% discount today as far as Hyperliquid goes. And as much as I'm bullish on both Hyperliquid and Aster, we'll talk about that in a moment, I do think there's just tremendous opportunity to have great exposure to both. So right now, I think $45. I think the comeback trade on Hyperliquid will be aggressive, and I think this latest NFT stimulus is just a part of their bigger plans leading into the season 2 airdrop. I think there's a lot under the covers to be uncovered here whenever it comes to Hyperliquid in the coming weeks. So I'm definitely looking at Hyperliquid, and right now it is a time to just have conviction coins and let those runners run, okay? People who sold too early on, stuff like Pump or Hyperliquid or Aster or Plasma, this is the time you take some profits, but you let your strongest positions go. That is the point in the market that we are at right now. So just looking, I love Hyperliquid at 45. I love Avalanche. And look, I'm not buying any more Avalanche. We were very publicly buying a ton at 19, 20, 21, 22 right here on this show. So to me, I don't really need more exposure there. But Avalanche at this point in time, absolute no-brainer. And we'll talk about more Avalanche ecosystem here as we get deeper into today's show. Another one that a ton of institutional money and a lot of investors are just so high on. There's so much corporate VC money into this, which is 𝗠𝗆𝗄. 𝗠𝗆𝗄, I don't have to go into too much of the technicals. It is a very, very top of the line blockchain. Some of their team was from Facebook, from their, at that point, failed crypto venture. A lot of them just moved back over to 𝗠𝗆𝗄 in the blockchain space and started running with, building this out as far as, Facebook's social platform. That flopped. They came over here, built 𝗠𝗆𝗄, and look at the metrics on 𝗠𝗆𝗄. I just feel like 𝗠𝗆𝗄 is extremely criminally undervalued, okay? We look at the TVL here, nothing but up. This chart is one of the most beautiful that you can see in all of crypto. The DEX volume is absolutely impressive. We see platforms like Momentum and 𝗠𝗆𝗄 Lend doing really well in the DeFi space. I do think that when it comes to 𝗠𝗆𝗄, looking at the market cap, looking at the price at 330, once it breaks through that all-time high at $5, I think this is a very, very easy, low-hanging fruit trade. But let's get into the ones that everyone is most privy on right now. And first and foremost, Aster. So right now, about a 6x on Aster from whenever we talked about it first here on this channel. And I think you have to set your targets higher. During a market meltdown this last week, first of all, it held up tremendously. This coin really didn't budge in the midst of market crisis. And some people were like, well, it dipped 20%. But yes, it went up 1,000% in a week on public prices. So you have to keep that in mind. And what 𝗔𝗂𝘁cie is saying here, you have to read between these lines and see they are really coming for the neck of Hyperliquid, and competition is great. They're going to continue to grow Aster. 𝗔𝗂𝘁cie is out here comparing Aster to Binance. Few understand this. Aster competes with Binance, but helps BNB. And still some people are saying this coin can't go higher, which I don't understand how. When you look at their treasury, and this was back on Friday, you see they have $1 billion in stable coins in their treasury. $1 billion in their treasury. This is no joke. Right now, they're the #1 overall revenue platform in all of crypto. And as 𝗔𝗂𝘁cie says, at the risk of stating the obvious, their per trade fees are lower. So they've done more volume to achieve this. As of yesterday, they surpassed Tether, Circle, Uniswap, Hyperliquid, all together, really, as far as 24-hour fees. At this point yesterday, you could have added up Tether and Circle, and the fees were the exact same as what Aster generated. And a lot of people would aim to the fact that, oh, it's new, they have an airdrop coming. But I like what Crash kind of says here is, if it's just airdrop farming, then every platform would just scam their users and say, we have an airdrop coming, and farm all that volume and fees, and then they wouldn't care after that. They made $23 million in fees. They would just F off, right? So this is not some, short-term hype. This is the DEX behind Binance. So I think you have to see that as a bigger picture. My targets still remain $3, $4 are probably my next take profit points. We did take some profits as far as taking out initials, and then once it climbed to that 240 level, we also gave the signal in Nexus and TTOO to be able to take profits at about that 10-12x mark. So at this point in time, we're absolutely cooking on this token, but I do think that there's a lot of opportunity to go higher. And if you haven't gotten exposure to this, we have one of the best teams, highest multipliers down below in the description. So if you want to check out Aster, if you want to farm the airdrop, you can join our team. We have over 300 members, some of the best numbers in the space. And like I said, we have that maximum team multiplier for you to take advantage of down below in the description. And you can see this is not going to be a fad. We see Bybit, they have their competing DEX doing $12 million in past revenue buybacks, and then 50% of daily revenue into buybacks. This is the perps DEX from Binance. So this narrative is only getting started, and I don't think, so a lot of people were, trading these types of things. Apex looks pretty good. Obviously, Avantis, if you want to take advantage, no pun intended, on Coinbase's perp DEX, Avantis would be your play. But I don't think you spread yourself too thin on this narrative. I would just be in on the winners, the giants, the Hyperliquids, and the Asters. And if you want to trade Avantis or Apex, make those shorter term trades, in my opinion, because I think the two long-term giants in this space are going to continue to be Hyperliquid and then the new kid on the block with Aster. But I know you guys, and also I would expect XPL Plasma to go over $2 in the coming weeks very easily, which would be a nice 60% move from this current level. But let's get down into the nitty-gritty. Some of the lower market cap coins, and I think you would probably get some great returns if you took some stabs at these down in this area. Number one, we have Ronin. They're going to be doing buybacks. I think that if gaming resurges, Ronin is definitely one of those top plays under that 300 market cap level, or around 300 million, to definitely take advantage of. We have Kita. They're kind of starting to retaliate on the charts after their mainnet launch, and I think Kita will definitely break all-time highs of $1.60 here in the month of October. Avantis, like I said, if you want to swing trade this, go ahead. It is down 45% this week, which it's a little bit weak for me. I don't like the weakness that it showed versus stuff like Hyperliquid and Aster, so I'm staying away at this point in time. But moving on down the ladder here, one that screams at me is Black Hole. This chart just looks exactly like what Aerodrome looked like whenever it launched. Okay, it pumped from 30 cents all the way up to $1.50, now back at 30 cents. And just read between the lines. Obviously, price action isn't friendly, but Black is hilarious. It's the fastest growing, soon to be top DEX in the space, and its actual company valuation is 20x the coin value, not for long. I mean, just seeing the metrics, over the course of their first quarter in the market, they've done $48.19 million in annualized fees over the course of time. We go look at the fees revenue. Just yesterday, they made $90,000. Over the 7 days, they've made $1.3 million. They're going to be putting a lot of this into buybacks as well. I think the value accrual on this token is so slept on. So I think if you want to take a stab at a low market cap DeFi coin, $37 million market cap for a coin that's making $1.33 million a week on average, I think it's a no-brainer. So I'm definitely looking at Black Hole here in the AVAX ecosystem at about 30 cents. And then gaming. I think gaming can definitely make a surge this fall. We see EA, Electronic Arts, behind FIFA, or now FC, behind the NCAA football games, behind Madden. They just sold today for $55 billion, among one of the biggest buyouts in gaming history. And look, we see Guns by 𝗔𝗂𝘁cie, off the grid. They had their all-time high decoded hexes on chain, 9x'd after the recent migration. So I'm looking at low valuation gaming coins that could absolutely explode here whenever the market turns around. First and foremost, you can still get into those top plays. Look, Beam, Ronin, Prime, I'm still very convicted in those. However, I think that the long shots are just going to pay heavier whenever that time comes around. So I have allocations into those projects as mentioned, Super, Beam, Prime, Ronin. That conviction remains. But at the same time, I think, getting into stuff like Black Hole or like 𝗚𝗺𝗁𝗏, for example, is going to just pay so many more dividends. First of all, the parent company token behind 𝗚𝗺𝗁𝗏, which is Swissborg, has been going on an astronomical run. This thing is absolutely printing on the charts over the last few weeks. Even with the market pullback, the Borg token is looking spectacular. And now we're looking at 𝗚𝗺𝗁𝗏. It's 5-6x off of all-time highs at 7 cents. And even at 10 cents, I was stacking up this token. And now that with this market pullback, this thing is as cheap as you are going to see it. They have their AI components coming out, and 𝗚𝗺𝗁𝗏 AI, I've heard some stuff behind the scenes. It sounds phenomenal. Their esports partnerships, their fan apps, they're doing buybacks now with their revenue. And this is one of the few gaming companies that actually makes revenue. And moving over here, we see Connor from 𝗚𝗺𝗁𝗏 to follow in Borg's footsteps. And as we see here, it did take a nice little surge from that 6-cent level over the last 24 hours. I think that 𝗚𝗺𝗁𝗏 is by far the most undervalued crypto gaming coin in the entire market. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I've made some big accumulations at 10 cents. I'm going to stack up some more at this price as well. And I do think this is easy multiples whenever the market does turn back up, and especially if gaming gets a little bit of a spotlight this cycle. So that's what I'm looking at right now. I'm super heavy into those top conviction plays. And as Becker says, there's too many altcoins out there killing it in every metric that is vastly underpriced. And yes, has it been painful waiting for alts to move, waiting for that final rotation, waiting to see if we can actually, start putting our chips all on the table and ride out a euphoric alt season? Are we going to see something like 2021? Nobody has the answer to that. That's the thing. There's going to be people that tell you that alt season's coming, alt season's here, whatever the case is. All you can do is prepare, all right? You prepare, you get your chips in line, and you wait it out and be ready to capitalize on the market when it gets frothy enough to provide enough euphoria for at least slightly 2021 vibes. And even if we don't get a 2021, we can go look at some charts here. Let's just go look at, I'm going to go with Echelon Prime, a good example, one that we crushed it on in this time period. So we were buying at $277 back in 2023. We saw a resurgence from $7 in January 2024. By April, this coin was $27. Like, even if we see something like that, that will make everyone here whole, and that'll be enough euphoria to go around. So that's what I'm preparing for. If we see 2021, by all means, I'm grateful, but I'm really expecting something maybe to resemble early 2024. 2021 was a crazy bull run, and if we get something like that, obviously, we're all blessed beyond belief, but at the same time, I'm expecting something maybe like this in 2024. Altcoins did very well. AI, meme coins were really starting to flourish at this point in time, so I do see maybe it resembling that more than fall 2021, but I won't be mad at either scenario. So guys, like the video down below. below. Subscribe to the channel. Do you think October is around the corner? Or do you think that long-standing historical trend, even off the backs of gold all-time highs, do you think we're maybe in for a bearish October? I would think that's a long shot given what's going on around Bitcoin as well as in other asset classes. But let me know in the comments down below, as well as what coins are you bullish on at these current levels. I'll see you guys on the next one. Like the video, subscribe for more, play well, my friends, trade responsibly, and most importantly, stay bullish, my friends.